I will call the meeting to order. Second. That's Lois with her flag.
I second it, yeah. So,
oh, you have your flag. There we go. So we can pledge.
Who sent the agenda? For some reason, I can't find it. Who?
I emailed it out to you.
Okay.
It was attached to the meeting notice that you probably just got in to open this meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
Oops, scoot down, Lois. We can't see the flag. There we go. We just all can't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America,
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
and justice for all.
all.
Thank you, Lois.
Thank you for providing the flag.
That was very nice. So I don't think we have anybody else that is joined for public participation because that would be allowed under this meeting.
Yes. Do we need to probably state though what our mission statement is in the event that people are tuned in or something?
Good point. Sure. Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Our mission is to address the needs and concerns of our disabled residents and provide their full participation in the activities and services of Wakefield. Okay.
So if anybody wanted to.
So next would be the approval of the meeting minutes.
One question. If anybody wanted to participate in this, because it was, there was a notification in tonight's paper giving also the Zoom address to tune in, that they would then be in here somewhere, right?
Right,
Correct.
I would think so.
And I don't think there's anybody, no, there's just the 5 of us so far. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. We're doing the best we can for our first time. We'll get better at it as we go along.
Yeah. So do we have the minutes from last meeting? I don't have my folder with me.
Darcy, did we have
I just,
I'm sure we had meeting minutes.
well, I sent them after the last meeting, but, and then I just sent them just now to everybody's email. Sorry, I wish I would have thought
That's
of it
okay.
and sent it before.
All right, so do we want to take a minute and check the email, or is that going to be difficult for people to?
That's going to be difficult for me because
email
I'm on my son's laptop. My
Okay,
PC
so you don't have it.
It's an old PC, doesn't have the mirror microphone and video, so my is in the other part of the house.
I just pulled them up on my phone. I don't know if we need 100% to approve.
Yeah, let's take a look. Let's just take 5 minutes to just read
Yeah, I
through
forgot
those.
about my phone. I could pull it up on my phone.
Let's see. Yeah, mine just came through.
You want to read it?
So just to review, Lorna, we confirmed the budget, 11,400. We talked about the post collaboration. Of course, we talked about Intelligent Lives. We talked about the disability sign over, what was that road? off of, by
Bateman
Shaw's.
Court.
Bateman Court, right. And I'm not sure that that's been resolved, so I'm just gonna take a note to discuss that. And Lorna talked about the porta johns at the lake. We talked about Envision Wakefield's next public forum that was in February. So I'll motion to approve, excuse me, to approve those.
A second.
What would that, Darcy, was that you accept
Right.
that? Is that what you just said? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Does everybody approve?
Yep.
Lois, you okay with the, okay. Okay, we're good. Lois, did you happen to get an update on the
I have,
finances?
I have the March. I did not get the April. And it was
Was there,
$11,566.29.
so it's gone up some.
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting.
I was not able to get the April. There's nobody in the town
That's fine,
hall.
that was good. Right, that's fine. So for old business, we've talked in the past about the call that we've received from the gentleman on Greenwood Avenue. And he checked in with me just a week or two ago. And I told him that we're gonna, we had reached out to Lieutenant Anderson of the Wakefield Police Department, and he was just returning from vacation at that time, and he hadn't gotten back to me. And in the meantime, all of this happened, and obviously that gentleman right now is not experiencing a parking issue. So I told him that we would, we would bring it back up when, things started, when it sounded like from the town that things were going to start to go back to normal. I think a big part of it is the school being in session, and obviously he's not going to have to deal with that at least through the summer. So, maybe depending on when whether we decide to have meetings during the summer now, or if we're going to just do like we did last year and just start up in September, we can address it again in September. But meanwhile, I'll try to connect with Lieutenant Anderson to see if he had made any headway at all, just so that we have a starting point with this gentleman when we do start back up.
The traffic advisory board has not met since February 12th.
Okay. So
What
maybe
advisory,
it
what
hasn't even
advisory
brought-
board, Lois?
Traffic advisory
Oh,
board
okay.
committee, excuse me. TAC.
And so it just, it just may not have risen to the top of that list yet. So,
Right.
It's usually only when they
but as
have,
long as he's,
as long as
I'm
they
sorry,
have, as long as they have other issues that they have to deal with, that's when they schedule a meeting.
Add them all together.
And add them all together.
okay. That makes, and I'm sure there's just not a lot going on that they've had to deal with lately, obviously, because no one's out. So we'll just table that and reconvene it for September. September meeting. Okay, so I guess the next piece is the Intelligent Lives. I don't even know what to suggest at this point.
No.
I
We
wonder
have
if
the-
we would have a better idea in the summertime, you know. Well, it's just very, I mean, I guess it's hard to predict if we're going to get that second wave or not and when we're going to get it.
Right, exactly.
Whether
In
we,
Right.
the gathering, I don't think that they're expecting like gatherings of more than 50 people before like September.
no.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be gatherings next year either. Until we get through the winter.
Right.
Well, there's not going to be gatherings until there's a vaccine.
And that won't happen for another year, I'd say. They say. The vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we just have to
Well,
put it
an
forward and just
option.
get more, you know, more information as to how things are going, whether we do a few small ones where there'd be the possibility of having to, you know, distance each other. It's just going to be a wait and see game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is if we are allowed to gather at some point only with a minimal number of people, we would just not advertise it maybe
Right.
outside of the town
Right.
and just keep it very local and you know, and have to limit the number of people if that's what we are asked to do.
And maybe have to run
So we
it,
could-
depending on interest, maybe need to run it a couple
Right.
of times to get some of the
Right.
target audiences that we want to get.
Well, another idea, you know how they in the summer, they have the movies at the lake? I mean, I
Yep.
wonder if there's some way we could do something outside
Mm.
with it. In a larger, more open space, you know, in the fall or something.
That could be, WCAT would support us on that, because I think
I've
they
never
host
been,
those
I've never
movies.
been to the movies at the lake, but I mean, they obviously.
We definitely would have to have a good sound system.
That's,
Yeah, well, yeah, but they must if they play movies.
Yeah, I just don't know who, you know,
Yeah, I don't know who organizes that, do you?
what, no, I have no idea.
that's a good point.
I think it's WCAT only because as an agency,
Important.
Communitas had tried to sponsor those, and the town really didn't want to give it up.
Okay.
So it seemed like it was a pretty tight ownership, but I don't see why we couldn't look into it.
Yeah.
Right,
It's
CAT,
been, God knows when the last time I ever sat
Sponsor.
down there and watched a movie. I remember doing it, but I don't remember what decade it was. And I just remember, you know, having the mosquitoes all around and swatting them the whole time I was down there.
Right.
You would
That
have to
would be too.
Yeah.
Brian Boyd, because he's in charge of, he is in charge of WCAT, and they run the movies,
and they're sponsored,
and they have
Okay.
they pay over
They
like
pay.
$500 a
They
piece
pay like $500 a movie, that type of thing,
each.
each.
Okay, that's
a
interesting
royalty.
to know.
There's also a royalty on the movies.
Right, but we wouldn't have to worry about that piece.
Right.
That's a good point, but we wouldn't have to worry about that piece. Well, it's a good option to pursue, depending on where this all ends up going.
Yeah.
I would forget about that. The fall.
So,
I think we have a solid infrastructure though, of like a plan of like how we want to advertise it and what we want it to look like, and what we want the kind of showing to look like. So at least, you know, we have like a starting point to pick up from whenever we're able to do something
Right.
like that.
Movies are all children.
We did a lot of legwork up until then, so, and now it gives us a little more time to talk. You know, we were starting to talk a little bit about having a panel, so maybe this gives us a little more time to figure out what that might look like.
Right.
Oh, well. So Lorna, you had identified, are we good with Intelligent Lives? Is there anything else we want to discuss in regard to that at this point?
No, I think we just
Okay,
need to,
so the
you know,
next
we're
was
gonna think of some options of
problems relating
forward.
to
I-
voting.
Yeah,
The next agenda item was problems related to voting.
yeah, Paula had brought that up.
I was just thinking where there's 3 elections, the election in June, and then the primaries in September, and then the major election in November. I just didn't know if that was something like, as a committee, that there was something that we could do, or should do. I didn't have any grand ideas.
We had received an email from someone after the last election complaining about the minimal handicap parking spaces that were set up. When was the election? Was it February?
Yeah, it was a primary.
That's right. And it was minimal. There were apparently only 2 handicap parking spots that they set aside. Some story about the cones were being used on a construction site or something, and they didn't have enough cones to put out there. But it was definitely an issue for a handful of people. So I think we do need to work with Betsy Sharon. I'm not, you know, maybe they have a protocol in place. I don't know. But if they don't, then maybe we need to do a little investigating to see what it should be.
It'd be best to go through Betsy.
Yeah.
And the other piece of it is, I wonder if they will maintain just 1 voting spot with this social distancing, or, you know, are we going to go to potentially mail-in voting? I don't know.
That would be nice.
Possibility of that.
I don't know.
Right.
Yep, there is that possibility. So that could alleviate a lot of problems. So I guess that's another area where we just have to stay tuned to see how, you know, how the town progresses. But maybe we just reach out to Betsy and tell her that we received some calls for the primary, and you know, that we want to be involved with whatever discussions they have.
What really would be nice is to get all those old mailboxes that have the part that comes out, or the part that you lift down this way, so you could drive up to it, throw your ballot in. They would be just designated ballot boxes that you could drive up to and throw your ballot in. Or people who, pardon me?
There was something on the news, and I think it was in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
For recently, they didn't have a mailbox, but they had a ballot box, and it was they had at least 1. Whether they had more than 1 location, I don't recall, but they had it set up in a public location, and they had, you know, police or whatever there, and people just drove up, got out of their car, dropped their ballot in the box, and kept on going. And it was a locked ballot. So, I mean, it sounds like there were a lot of options.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what we need to have is options for those people who don't drive or can't get a ride to the ballot box. Then they could just mail theirs in, but they would have to have it mailed in before the actual ballot
would
day.
It would be the same as, or possibly the same as an absentee ballot,
Which are mailed.
which I mailed.
They mail them
Right.
out.
Yeah, again, that will be interesting to see how the town proceeds with all of this.
Right, and maybe once they have a plan, like you said, just talking to Betsy to make sure we can be part of those conversations, because I'm sure there's different barriers to mail-in ballots for people with like physical disabilities and things like that.
That's right.
Absentee have a cutoff date though,
Absentee has a cutoff date
because they're added
Right.
into the.
Because they have to have them in by a
by
certain.
regular.
Lois,
Right.
do they have the ballots? Do you have to request a ballot in Braille for somebody who has vision impairment?
I don't think they've ever run into a Braille situation, but there is.
Again, it's a question you can ask Betsy.
We can ask Betsy on that.
I was just, curious to know if Braille, I mean, I don't imagine that they have to have a ton of them in each town, but I would certainly imagine that they need to have
They
a certain
do.
amount of them in each town for anybody that needs to have a ballot that's in Braille.
Right, for a reasonable accommodation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They do have a machine,
And off the lips.
an Optilex machine that
Vision impaired.
a vision impaired person could use, and someone would work with the person. They have it, so that's available for somebody that can't read very well. So I would suggest to put that on your list or our list
So bring it up to Betsy.
to bring it up to Betsy.
Now, is that a type of
So
machine
the
that
town has,
site,
you,
The town has it.
but that's for
Right.
some site but needs it amplified?
It's
It's a magnifier.
So
It's
it's
a
not for somebody who's actually, totally blind?
I really don't know that, but it's something you
I
can ask.
don't know that, but we could find that out from Betsy.
Also, I'm pretty sure that Perkins will translate anything that you need into Braille. So I would be surprised if, maybe not for the local elections, they don't do that, but for like the primary for senator or for the major election in November, I would be surprised if nobody in Massachusetts requested that.
Hmm.
and so an individual who would require that accommodation would have to call the town and make the request?
I would say, yeah, that would be
Okay.
my thought.
I've never heard of it, but. yeah,
Never
it's
heard of it, but it, can be
So much
looked at.
easier to make an absentee ballot, have somebody fill it out for you.
Yeah. Have somebody fill the absentee ballot for the person if it got to be
But on the day of, I don't know what
on,
to do.
on the day of,
Not the day of, beforehand.
or before,
But I don't know
before
what to do
the,
on the day of, if
right,
somebody walked in.
right.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll take the action to send Betsy an email, tell her that we've met, that we had some complaints after the primary in February, and that, depending on what the town decides to do, we would like to be involved in any discussions so that we can have input,
Okay.
into handicap accommodations.
Can we change that to disability accommodations?
Sure, sorry.
I just hate that word handicapped. Though we as a society tend to handicap people
True.
by not providing them by, accommodations, but always having barriers up to them, but.
Okay. Okay, does anybody have anything else that they want to discuss? This could be the shortest meeting we've ever had.
Yeah.
I know.
I'll send the notes out right after.
Okay.
Okay, great,
Just-
thank you.
And if there's some issues with parking, I know they have some parking stands type thing that they use when there are things going on in town. So they're like down by the lake. So that's something,
They have like half a dozen 5-gallon plastic buckets.
yeah,
with cement in them
5-gallon buckets they have
that are
that they can
temporary
move
handicap.
around. So they can be added if it's gonna be at the one polling place.
In other words, in front of the sidewalk, in front of the gallery.
Yeah, in front of the gallery.
Right, they could also, at the Buddy Walk, they've used like sawhorses, orange sawhorses that
Right.
the police move back and forth. So I think there's ample items that they could use to designate places as handicap parking, so.
But I would assume they'd want that sidewalk in front of the gallery. Where you get out of the car and you go right in.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it would be good to have the actual sidewalk so people could walk right in to be the easiest way.
That's what they've done the last couple of elections anyway.
Yeah.
What election is in September?
I know it's the state senate, not state
President-
senate. It's a primary between Markey and Kennedy.
Oh.
I don't know what other offices are being voted on, but I know that one.
And then June is the town election, right?
Oh, it's like it was moved from April to June, huh?
Well,
Right.
that's the town meeting.
So another thing that we should make sure that we're all got our antennas out for is to encourage somebody that might want to participate on our commission here. Because I think we're down 2
Yes.
slots, is that it? Tracy finished up her
Right.
obligation, is moved on to another committee, is that correct? Lois?
Yes,
Not,
that was my understanding.
Yeah, I think she was gonna volunteer with the library or something,
Uh-huh.
right? Yeah.
Well, definitely thank
Not
her
an
for all
elected
the years that she, volunteered to be on the commission
The
for
Friends of
disability
Evie.
issues.
The Friends.
she would be doing things for the Friends of the Library.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an elected position
Appointed.
or appointed.
All right, well, we'll have to get the words out in our social circles, I guess, for people who are interested.
It'd be nice if we had
The only
some
one was appointed this year.
males to join our
Ethics.
commission.
Oh, that's the other thing. I have done the.
You were appointed
I was appointed to the
for the next 3 years.
for the next 3 years.
Yes.
I watched it on TV and I heard my name.
So you have to sign in, be
So
sworn
I
in.
have to be sworn in. I've already done the
Yeah.
ethics thing that
Yeah.
has to be completed. I've done that. So when
And
the
a
town,
copy of the certificate has to be given to the town clerk
yeah,
and usually the secretary of the Commission on Disabilities.
I have a certificate that I completed
Yep.
the
Ethics.
ethics. So I have to be sworn in. I give a copy to the
Town clerk,
town clerk and I also give a
copy to
copy to
the secretary.
the secretary
Of the commission.
of the Commission on Disabilities. So it's all.
Okay, so then,
And you have to fill out the ethics
So
every 2 years.
Every-
Everybody.
Everybody has to do the ethics after
2 years.
2 years.
okay. All right, so they should, once you've complete all of that, then they should forward it to Darcy then.
Right.
Okay,
I'll be looking out for that.
So then, if that's the case, I would think that possibly we should check with Sherry to find out if any of you people that are on the committee, if you've done 2 years on the committee, you would have to do another ethics, and I would think,
But they leave it up to you to do that.
right, they leave it up to the person,
oh,
and then
interesting.
you have to do this, every 2 years, every 2 years. So Sherry, I think
Is that every 2 years, wait, if you re-up on to the committee, right? I mean, because the appointments for
Yeah.
how long?
Every 2 years you've been on the committee.
every 2 years you're on the committee.
Yeah, except for mine is a 3-year stint, because I must have filled in for somebody else for 1 year, and then they just added.
Right,
on.
right.
So I would assume that I don't have to do it unless I re-up after the 3 years.
But if you've been on the committee 2 years,
You've been appointed for 2 years.
you've
You've been
been,
appointed for every 2 years that you've been on the committee.
every 2 years that you've been on the committee, you have to do the
Ethics.
ethics.
Okay, well, Lorna, you want to check with Sherry and get the scoop, because on the website, on the commission's website, all of our terms are listed there.
Right.
So
And-
I think I'm coming up. This will be, I can't remember when I started, maybe
just
this
started a year
April
ago.
timeframe.
We just started a year ago.
Has
Wasn't
it
it?
just been a year?
Hmm.
I feel like it's 2.
Close. I can't
I
talk.
think
But I
it's only
can't
been
remember.
a year. I think it's only been a year because we took
Okay.
over, we became co-chairs when
Tuesday.
that gentleman retired. And we had just come on,
John.
we'd only been on like a month.
Right.
I think
It
it was February we started, so maybe it was a year in February? Am I getting that confused? We'll have to check that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sherry would know. So talk to,
It's probably on the website, huh?
Talk to Sherry to get.
Yeah,
everything
I think
done.
all of our terms are on the website.
a consideration might be to talk to Sherry and ask her if the people that are on the committee could be staggered,
So you're not losing everybody.
so you're not losing everybody at once.
Well, we aren't, because Paula and Darcy came on at a different time than Marie and I came on.
But just
Right.
to
And
get
you
it,
just came on.
Just to get
because I think
everybody
that's
staggered.
even CV. I think he's still got another year left.
No,
But
yeah, but he's gone. The guy, John, whatever his name was.
Jonathan?
yeah, but
Yeah,
that's an unexpired term.
right. Right.
That's-
So that's an unexpired term, so he is now off the records. She took him, Sherry took
Right, I
him,
believe just the 5 of us are on right
Right.
now.
right. So staggered would be a good, and that's, I think, what they're
If
doing.
they could start that with him where it's unexpired term, that's a film.
Right. They could start that with John's term, where it's staggered, where it's unexpired. So, like,
Whoever replaced him.
whoever replaced him, which no one actually did that I can remember.
Right. No, it's just us because I think Sherry had advertised it with a bunch of other positions. I can't remember now when, in the fall, and nobody other than Lois, nobody else has put in an application. So
Yeah.
we've got to get out there and get some interest.
Yeah. It's a very fulfilling position to me.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we got to get the word out. And if we
Yep.
could have done, I think if we had been able to do the Intelligent Lives, that would have really been helpful for us to, you know, get awareness of the disability out there,
Right.
of the commission. So we're trying.
We are.
All we can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. This was definitely out of our hands. So is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up?
Can I just read this for you? Ask permission.
Dan has something he wants to read to you guys
It's from you.
from me. Okay.
Sure.
Hello.
Hi,
The
Dan.
only
Hi,
reason
Dan.
it's from Lois, but it's from the item, so it's very hard to see it. But this was from Thursday, March 12th, and the state had just passed in the Senate for the first reading handicap parking spaces for the downtown areas. They would have a recommendation of 5% of the downtown parking would have to be handicapped. But that has just gone through one house. I don't know what's happened to it since. You know, the world has ended in the last. And also, I think on February 13th, and this law will come into effect January of this coming year, 2021. There's a bill called Nikki's bill. And this is for almost like the level 3 sex offender type thing. This would be for anybody that has been in a rest home where there's disabled people, that has abused them in any way. They'd have to be on this listing. So if they applied for another job in a home, they could not do that. But it's called Nikki's bill, and it was signed by the governor.
That's not just for an elderly home either. That would be for any group home, I think, that
Yes.
deals with
Yes.
Right.
people with developmental disabilities or mental health.
Right.
Right, and I believe it's not just even group homes, it's like anybody working with people with disabilities. And I know that does sadly happen in our area that's a little bit densely populated, because you can go from one agency to another in a 5-mile radius.
Yeah.
It's for intellectually disabled and nonverbal individuals.
Right.
But that's a good thing.
Absolutely.
That's been, was a senator up in Millbury that brought that into being passed. And the other bill for the handicap parking.
And Dan,
Go ahead.
going back to that bill for the handicap parking, is that all downtown areas in the state, that 5%? It's statewide,
It's
all
on
downtown
street.
areas state?
It's on street parking. So that could be in other spaces, but you know, with all the stuff that's going on in Wakefield with the redoing of Main Street and everything's up in the air. And also with
Right.
the coronavirus stuff and the amount of money that's been spent, even the new high school in Wakefield, the funding of that is kind of up in the air too. And I know some of these plans that they've got for the downtown area, the Envision, that might be a little shaky too with the funding the state's got, because they're going to get hit with an awful lot of funds after this virus if it's ever over.
Right, they're gonna have to see what money is available, you know, what money is available.
Because the
Without cutting
people aren't
education.
Albion Street, I think they were supposed to start right now to do that first, and they got special funding for that. But I don't know where that funding, is, or where it's at the moment.
Oh, so
Right.
there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
We'll have to tune in. Thank you, Dan.
You're absolutely welcome.
Does anybody have anything else?
I don't.
No?
Oh,
I don't.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn then?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I'll third it.
Second it. Okay, well, it was
All
great
right.
to see all of
Yeah,
you.
nice
I'm
to
glad
see
that
everybody.
everybody is well.
I imagine this is what we'll probably be doing next month, for next month's
Yeah.
meeting
Yeah.
also.
And
Right.
let's give some thought as to, I'm assuming that, I don't know, although Dan and Lois may be going up to their home in Canada, I don't
That's
see
the
us
moment
doing
we
much.
get across the border.
Did you hear what he said? At the moment, we can't get across the border.
That's right.
Oh, okay, well, so let's think about then what we want to do, if we want to host meetings for the summer. I mean, on the one hand, we may not have a lot of, we just may
Right.
not be able to do a lot. But on the other hand, if we're around, we could do
Actually-
some planning, I suppose.
Most boards usually don't have meetings. The only one that I can see that would be the Board of Appeals type thing. But as far as other boards, I've never seen any other boards that would have meetings.
The selectmen have one after the 4th, and one more till September. That's it.
The selectmen have one after
Well,
the 4th of July. Of course, there isn't anything for the 4th. So there's going to be one more after that for the selectmen
until September.
till September.
So between,
September.
So there really won't be anything going on.
Unless we come up with
you can always call it an
an
emergency.
idea of doing the Intelligent Lives in an outdoor
Right.
theater type thing.
Right,
Right.
and we would want to do some planning. So
Right.
at the next meeting at the beginning of June, maybe we'll have a better idea, of potentially what we can and cannot do, and then we can,
Right.
we can discuss it
Yeah.
then.
I think that, Governor Baker has kind of put things on hold until May 18th anyhow, and I think between now and May 18th that his task force of reentry, as we might say, will probably start giving us some ideas as we're going to do after May 18th.
Right,
Right.
right.
I mean, he has
It's
daily,
not going to, open up and everybody's going to have a field day. But
No, he said today that's not how it's going to happen. So you're right.
I
He's
think
going to
he's
do
done
it a
a really
little bit at a
decent job
time.
too, so. Yeah,
Yes, working from home is working for me.
it's
working
kind of
for
working
me
for
because
me
I'm not
too.
working.
I'm, being able to see clients, via this way has been a godsend, so,
Yeah, I'm sure it has been for you
yeah.
Yeah.
and for your clients more so. So,
Hopefully that's the case, yeah.
I haven't seen people in person, but it's working.
Yeah. Oh, yes, and you still having to go over to the office?
No, we have somebody in there for family support 3 days a week, but other than that, we're all working remotely.
Yeah,
And we probably will even after the day program reopens, just because of the number of people.
right.
yeah.
All right.
All
And
right.
only 31 more doses of radiation and I'm finished.
Only what?
What's that for?
Oh, I have
Hang in
cancer
there.
and I'm getting radiation, so it's 31 more doses. I've had 13.
Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Are you feeling okay?
So far,
Good.
except
Well, that's
we
good.
have a
Let's hope
few-
it stays that way.
we have a few other problems with where I'm getting the cancer doses. It creates other problems. I don't want to go into it, you know?
Yeah. Don't, because you're on TV.
Yeah, right.
All right, well, stay well, everyone.
Yeah. See you
Yeah,
next week.
everybody stay well, stay safe.
Yeah, you too.
Yes. You
Bye-bye.
guys.
All right, we'll be in touch. We'll see you in June.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.